backdrop for this trip is coming at quite an inflection point here. The Strait of Hormuz, of course, is still not open. We saw the inflation numbers on the rise, warming up a bit today in the CPI. There are questions about the future of the president's tariff agenda. All of that said, what do you expect for deliverables, and will they include deals that impact any of these items?
Well, I think that's a great question, and thank you for asking it that way. The deliverables are likely to be China's commitment to purchase food and to open its market to additional consideration, and particularly Boeing, as you mentioned. On the other side, China's beginning to hurt. They had stockpiled oil in preparation for this Iranian confrontation, but that stockpile is running low, and they are at a point where they need to turn the spigot back on, which means not President Trump asking, but rather President Xi asking what can be done to bring this to a close.
Well, on that, Congressman, before he left for his trip, the president spoke to reporters at the White House, and he said he doesn't think that we need China's help with Iran when it comes to the Strait of Hormuz. He suggested we don't need anyone's help. If that's the case, if the U.S. can do this alone, why is the Strait of Hormuz not open now?
Well, the fact is that Iran is hurting, but Iran is able to tolerate tremendous pain of their people. They're continuing executions. Iran is still business as usual in many ways, even though their economy is in shambles. They're now in triple-digit inflation. And as I said, China is beginning to feel the impact because their strategic petroleum reserves have now run low. So is China needed? No. But if China wants to get oil moving again, they have to be part of the solution and not just sit on the sidelines. Additionally, America is not going it alone. As you've seen, the United Arab Emirates have actually led attacks, and other players in the region are now coming on board to say that if Iran will not make this kind of fair opening of the Strait of Hormuz, they're going to continue to be with America for as long as it takes.
Congressman, I'm curious your thoughts on a moment the president had in the driveway today as he was walking over to the helicopter. He spent some time with reporters, and he was asked about what would influence him to cut a deal with Iran, and if in fact, Americans' own personal finances might be included among them, knowing, of course, that we're spending a lot of money on gas. I don't need to tell you, living in California, I just got back from Milken, and I was blown away to see the gas prices there. We're at $4.50 here nationally, and today's CPI report showed some bleeding into the core, which has been a concern for economists. Listen to what the president said in reaction to that question.
The only thing that matters when I'm talking about Iran, they can't have a nuclear weapon. I don't think about American financial situation. I don't think about anybody. I think about one thing. We cannot let Iran have a nuclear weapon. That's all.
He doubled down that he doesn't think about Americans' financial situation. And you work in politics. You can imagine Democrats making ads out of that now. I just wonder if you agree with him, if that purity in approach is what you want to hear from the president, or maybe you want to hear him suggest that getting gas prices back down might be a reason to stop this war.
Well, look, President Trump has made it his second-term mission to be consequential, not just to be popular. And that means that he has to bring to an end this 47-year conflict. And, you know, President Trump, like myself, is old enough to remember what caused the Berlin Wall to fall and the peace dividend that for a number of years America enjoyed. So, yes, the gas prices are high. California has the highest. But the reality is the real peace dividend will far exceed temporary inflation if we can bring to an end Iran's exporting of terrorism and their threat, not just to their neighbors, but to the entire world. Is it easy? No. Is it worth staying the course? The president and I both agree on that. And the fact is the president's leadership has made it possible to be close, but not necessarily blinking. And that's the important thing. Everyone wants him to blink. He's made it clear he won't. He's going to make it clear to President Xi that he won't. And I think that's when he comes back, Iran has to be ready to pay a high price if they're not willing to come genuinely to the table, which, by the way, I predict they won't. I believe they're going to take another round of beating before they, in fact, capitulate.
Another round of beating. Congressman, have you been briefed on any kind of resumption in kinetic military activity?
Well, our military has already made it clear that they've put together the plans for targeted additional strikes. And when I say targeted, most of the goods facilities have been destroyed. So now it's a question of much lower volume, but hitting targets that will hurt the regime. And they're clearly going to do that in addition to maintaining the blockade. And I'll add one more. Look, the people of Iran are suffering as we speak. They are doing executions on political lines for anyone who objects. But at the same time, they're not able to strike back the way they once were. So, yes, there are tools in the military tool shed, and I believe they're going to be used because I believe the Iranians are going to continue to be delusional about what peace looks like for them.
Congressman, finally, when we consider the gas prices here at home, which you were speaking to a moment ago, President Trump, as of yesterday, is officially pushing for a gas tax holiday. We saw Joe Biden try to do this back in 2022. And at the time, sir, you said that the president, referring to Biden, clearly doesn't understand economics or that the margin at the gas station has very little to do with price setting. Does President Trump also not understand economics when it comes to this issue?
Well, President understands that the 18 cents is symbolic. President Biden was talking about
so why
somehow
push for it?
Well, because 18 cents is 18 cents. The fact is, President Biden seemed to imply that there was gouging at the pump by the convenience store down the street that's only making pennies. There's no question at all that there is excessively high prices, that is based on the global price. But if there's excessive profits, they are not being done by the last person you see at the gas pump, but upstream. So are there ways to work with the administration to try to curtail some of these prices if the war goes on? I believe there are. But at the same time, it's not going to be by vilifying anybody. Well, in fact, this war is going on for a darn good reason, one that is 47 years in the making.